Good morning, everyone. It is Sunday, December 8th, 2024. And normally on Sundays at this time, I do a Sunday reading for you guys here on the Wolf Girl Oracle. But today I'm not going to. Today I want to talk about something very profound and exciting that I had happen that I wanted to share with you guys. So on Saturday, Danny Shea and Kim Copeland did a Zoom meditative journey that took us to Lemuria. And I really don't have a lot of experience with Lemuria. I don't really know much about, or I didn't know much about Lemuria. I just knew that it was, one of those mythical sacred places in the world, and I really didn't give it much thought. Last year, or maybe it was 2 years ago, it might have been 2 years ago, I had a small vision of Lemuria, or what I thought was Lemuria. But other than that, I've really not given it much thought. At the beginning of summer, I started going down the shamanic path and started journeying more and have expanded my horizons, and I'm going back in time, essentially, on linear time, with all the things that I'm experiencing in my journeys. I'm healing a lot of past hurt and forgiving and moving forward and doing all those things. But I haven't really done anything with Lemuria or Atlantis or any of those mythical places until today. And today I went on this journey, and I had such a profound experience. I was like, I have to talk to you guys about this, because I feel like I was being given information to transmit to all of you. So you can take from what I'm about to tell you whatever you want. Okay, I think that everyone's experience was a little bit different, and that everyone's experiences maybe were like puzzle pieces that if we talk to one another, we can put together and see a bigger picture. So I just wanted to share my part of the picture, what I saw, what I felt, what I heard, and what was transmitted to me. And but there was many people in this class, so I'm hoping that a lot of people talk about what they saw and what they experienced, so that we can fill in the gaps, fill in the picture. So anyway, we started with Kim, who took us on a spiritual bus ride, so to speak, to Mount Shasta to meet with the Lemurians there. And she asked us to call on Saint Germain to open the gate to allow us into Telos, which is inside of Mount Shasta. So I did that. I called out to Saint Germain, but who showed up for me was Heimdall. Okay, and Heimdall is kind of the gatekeeper of the gods. He kind of has that same job, so to speak. And who knows? Maybe Saint Germain and Heimdall are based on the same being. But Heimdall is who showed up for me and opened the gate for me so that I could go into Telos. And as soon as I walked into Telos, one of the very first things that I noticed was that everything had this gorgeous kind of lavendery, pinkish light to it. Okay, and it was like walking through, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Petra in Jordan, but there's through the sandstone in Jordan, they cut out these gorgeous big buildings, and they created basically a city in this channel, where the cliffs are all on either side of you, and the buildings are built into those cliffs. And that's kind of what I was seeing when I went into Telos. There were all different kinds of buildings and people moving about. It was very happy, very there was definitely a maternal like hug feeling as I walked into this place. And, you know, right from the get-go, I felt comfortable and calm and excited to be there. And somewhere along the journey, you know, Kim asked us to reach out to an elder and speak to an elder. So as I'm walking through this, you know, these streets, you know, I noticed that there was an older woman who was just sitting on the steps of this, going into this building. So I walked up to her and, you know, I told her, you know, my name and why I was there. And she, without opening her mouth and speaking, said, "Oh, I know why you're here. I know who you are." And I could tell that she was talking to me telepathically, which I thought was just great. So I tried it back, you know, basically not opening my mouth, not speaking aloud, but just speaking to her through my soul, you know, the soul connection that I felt connect. It was like the old-fashioned operators who would like plug in to connect you to an extension, a phone extension, you know. It was like that happened. There was all of a sudden this connection, and all the other sounds and sights that were around me kind of faded away, and it was just me and her talking. And she's like, "Well, go ahead and ask your question." And I said, "How did this come to be? How did this city inside of Mount Shasta, Telos, how did this come to be?" And she told me something that I already knew, which just blew my mind. All right. She told me that long ago, long ago, there was a group of, you know, aliens, for a lack of a better word, called the Pleiadians, that traveled through a gate, through a stargate, from their solar system, their planets, to our planet. And the gate that they walked through was in what is now India. But India wasn't attached to the continent. It was an island. It was an island in the Indian Ocean, and it was secluded and separate from everything else. So it was like the perfect place for them to create and start a seeding process. And that's something that she really put a lot of emphasis on, was although life was already here on the planet and there were humanoid type beings on the planet, they had not yet reached sentience. Okay. So the Pleiadians brought people to the island. They brought humanoids that were on the planet at the time to the island. And from there, these people were seeded with the DNA that we currently have as Homo sapiens sapiens, and were given instruction and training about things that are at a much higher vibration than what we understand now. These people, and they interbred with the Pleiadians. The Pleiadians, after this genetic change to us, were able to procreate with them. And some of the ensuing people were giants. Some of them were our size. But there were many different kinds of people that came out of this collective combining of DNA. And all the colors that you see on people's skin today, everything that you see in humanity today started there. So although there wasn't a guy named Adam and a woman named Eve, this was sort of an Adam and Eve situation. And these people are our people. Okay, they are how we became who we are. All right. But the way that happened was very interesting, because I don't think that the Pleiadians had any intention, at first at least, to transmit the information that they were giving to these beings that they essentially created to anyone else in the world at that time. You know, they really wanted to get these people elevated into an equal place that they were, so that they could then transmit it to all the rest of humanity. But something happened that caused that not to happen the way that they had planned. There was some kind of cataclysmic event, and the woman, she was giving me visions of what happened, and it happened very rapid fire, but to the best of my ability, what I think happened, and because I also had a vision of this, a couple years ago that kind of coincides with this. There was a pole shift, and that pole shift caused a rapid uncombining of the tectonic plates. The tectonic plates started moving rapidly all over the world, not just there, but everywhere. And what is now India, what happened was that, which was a small continent at the time, was slammed up against the Asian continent, which is why the Himalayas are there. Okay. And as the island was moving, and it was moving very rapidly, the Pleiadians opened a gate, and opened several gates, and sent people all over the planet to save their lives, okay, to get them out of there. The Pleiadians themselves went to Hawaii, what is now Hawaii. It was a much bigger continent at that time, but they went to Hawaii, and they went to Ethiopia, Egypt, somewhere between Afghanistan and Iraq, what I think is Malaysia, and also Australia. The people were spread out. But when the Pleiadians went to Hawaii, they restarted the project that they came here to Earth to do. Okay. And it was at that point that Kim said, okay, you're being rounded up to go back to the bus. So, Heimdall blew his horn, and all of us left. Telos got back into the vehicle and came back to this reality. Okay, right here. Then Danny started his. And Danny wanted to take us to Hawaii. When he said that he was taking us to Hawaii, forgive me for the crudeness of this, but I almost shit my pants. I really did. I almost shit my pants. Because I was like, okay, I guess we're going to continue the story then. And that's exactly what happened for me. Danny had us go into the ocean, and we were going to go to where Lemuria is now, which is right by the Hawaiian Islands. It was the Hawaiian Islands. Hawaii was, at that time, outside of the sea, so there was a big landmass there. But what ended up happening was, through the gradual warming after, the Younger Dryas event, no one can convince me now that didn't happen, because Hawaii sinking was the result of this great melt-off that occurred, and it wasn't that Hawaii sank, it was the oceans rose, but there was thousands of years in Hawaii before this happened, in the big city that the Lemurians had there on Hawaii was called Mu. And there was lots of little cities all over the place where there were priests that were training people to be what we're hoping to become. People who can transmit everything via telepathy, who can travel in and around and through these gates to be able to glean more information. But those Pleiadians, what they were trying to do was they were trying to erect the Akash here in this world, on this planet. And because they did that, we have the Akashic records, okay? In order for you to have Akashic records, that Akash has to be firmly planted in a place, and that is done through a deep sense of spirituality. We are very fortunate that that took place before all these different cataclysms happened, because now we have access to these records, these Akashic records that are there to help guide us and show us all this wisdom that those Pleiadians brought to us. Not just the Pleiadians either, it's just the wisdom gleaned from one another through fellow humans along the path too. But as Hawaii started to sink, after the ocean started to raise up, fortunately that happened slow enough that they were able to get away from the island, and the Pleiadians are now under the water. They live in a the actual Pleiadians, the ones that came from the Pleiades, actually live in the ocean. Okay, the people who are living in Mount Shasta and who travel to other places too, Australia, I wrote it down, Easter Island, Chile, Northern California, Australia, all these different places. Okay, as the people moved out from Hawaii and went to all these different places, they took pieces of all this information and this knowledge with them. The Pleiadians closed it in and went down into the ocean and are gently guiding from there as we awaken, as we reach those higher vibrations. Okay, they're able to communicate with us, and they're able to transmit this information to us. So we're getting there. All right, and this should be I'm excited to make this a part of my focus, because I really would like to get there, you know. But all of this was taken, all of this was transmitted when Lemuria, India, slammed up against the Himalayas. At that point, those people went out to different places. They took their information with them, and they didn't reconnect. Not all of them. Some of them did, but most didn't. Most did not reconnect with the Pleiadians. They did not have that. They hadn't reached that place where they could fully connect. Okay, but they did have quite a bit of information and technical information. The pyramids all over the world are part of that technical transmission, you know, that the Pleiadians brought to us. And all the sacred symbols that you see all over the world that match all the other sacred symbols all over the world, that was part of their language. That was a part of their pictorial language. They didn't have to use words because they could do things through telepathy. So as reminders, what they would do is they would create these sacred symbols, and those sacred symbols don't have just a tiny simple message, although they're a simple symbol like a spiral. That spiral told them a whole story, contained a whole big giant wealth of information. And it was there just as a little pictorial reminder of what it stood for, you know? And they're all over the world, and those were transmitted by all these people who left, you know, the original island of Lemuria, the original continent of Lemuria, and went to Hawaii, and those people too, you know? They took that information and went around the world, and that's why we have all of these little connections, to everything. And if we can bring that stuff together and put it together, we will get a beautiful picture of what the Pleiadians wanted for us and where we could be, and all this potential. It's built into us. It's built into our DNA. You know, we are Pleiadians, if you go back far enough. So anyways, I just wanted to share that with you guys. I want to say that if you guys have the opportunity to go to one of Danny or Kim's classes, or, you know, when we have the privilege of having them both together like we did today, which was just incredible, I would like to say, please do it. Please go to their classes. They're free, and they're, you know, if you can donate something, that's great, but If you can't, Danny's always like, just pay it forward to somebody, do something kind, which I think is just tremendous. But go, because I'm getting such a profound awakening as the result of doing this shamanic journey and learning how to journey in that particular way. It's leading to a transmission of information for me that I think that every single person on this planet needs to hear right now. Everybody needs to understand just how closely connected and related we all are. And that there was an intention behind us being here. We're not here for just no reason. It's not like there is no purpose for us. There is, and we all have the same kind of purpose. Maybe not in the same way, but it leads to the same thing. So definitely, if you see that they're doing classes, go to them. They're incredible. Okay. So anyways, I love you guys. I will see you guys in about a week and a half. I'm going to be going to North Carolina, so I'm not going to be doing a Wednesday show this week. I will not be doing a Sunday reading, but I will see you guys again on that following Wednesday for Good Morning Coffee and Talk. Okay, so I love you guys. Take care, everybody. All right, bye-bye.